Welcome to Around the Clock. We have a special segment for you today talking about the renaming of the MBTA access road. This is the road we all know that goes down by the Dunkin' Donuts, takes you all the way down to the train station. The town recently purchased it for $1 with an agreement through the MBTA and the Mass Department of Transportation. And we were able to celebrate and rename this to Memorial Drive. And that is in memory of all those who have lost their lives due to Nyanza, which is just off of the MBTA access road. So let's take a listen to some of the things that have been said, and let's share the unveiling of this new name, Memorial Drive.
Well, good morning, everybody. Obviously, I picked a hot day, so we'll try to get this moving along quickly. And I appreciate everybody taking the time to be here. This is an important event, but always, anytime you rename something Memorial Drive or Memorial Street, there's obviously a somberness associated with that because it's equated to the loss of lives. And that's what we're here to talk about today, and then also to recognize and also honor. 2016 was my first year as town manager. Probably the biggest, most complicated issue I had ever faced was related to the Cirrus development up here and how it brought upon just so many feelings and emotions from people in the community. And like many people who have not grown up here or who have just moved here recently, I had heard about Nyanza, I had known about Nyanza, you know the statistics, but I never really was able to put a face with some of the names. And that all changed over that summer. And I got to know many of you, and I got to know many of your stories. And as hard as it was also one of the best times of my career because I got to know all of you and all, the stories of your sons and your brothers and your fathers and your daughters. It was a really powerful moment for me, and I still count many of you among some good friends of mine. So that's why it's important to talk about Nyanza, and it's important to talk about really kind of the bigger picture and how for decades the Nyanza chemical colorant plant, along with a lot of other toxic sites in the country, continued to just dump toxic materials into our environment in the name of progress that ended up making a lot of our community members sick. So this site has become a lot more than just a development site or the rail transit district. It's really become a whole memorial to those people who have lost their lives. And so that's why it's so fitting to call this road, which was the MBTA access road, Memorial Drive. I can't take credit for that. I think our fire chief is the one who came up with that idea. He's like looking at me like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Keith, trust me, just take credit when it happens.
Say yes.
So one of the things we did, obviously Dan's healing garden is just behind the trees here. One of the things is we wanted to signify here, just have a little bit of a reminder of what Nyanza is. And so we created this sign actually back in 2016. And I'll just read it. Memorial Drive. Like many industrial facilities across the country, for 60 years the Nyanza Chemical Company disposed of toxic waste into ashland environment as part of its manufacturing process. The resulting contamination has been linked to chronic and terminal illnesses in the area. The site is also one of the nation's first Superfund sites. Tens of millions of dollars, and it's going to be tens of millions of dollars more, has been spent remediating the land, and there still exists a contaminated groundwater plume underneath the ground. Ashland's Memorial Drive serves as a constant reflection on those that have lost their lives to the Nyanza site and serves as a reminder that the capitalistic pursuit of economic progress should not come at the expense of a community's health and well-being. And I think that really encapsulates what we're trying to memorialize here today. So again, I want to thank you all for coming here. Susan and Kevin Langmeyer from DPW, I want to thank you all for setting this up. I know this was a quick turnaround time. And with that, I'll turn it over to our Select Board Chair, Yolanda.
Good morning. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to Michael and the staff for, as he said, a very quick turnaround to putting the plaque here. I've been in town a little bit longer. I've been here since 1990, and I remember when I told people I was working in Boston that I was looking to move to Ashland, and they had a negative reaction. They're like, why do you want to go there? They have this big Superfund site. And we did our research and we said, you know, Ashland is still a great community. And I think even as we stand here and we think about those that have been lost and the people who have been here their whole lives, who have lost people, it has made them stronger. It has made Ashland a unique and wonderful community because with that loss, it brought people together. As Michael said, in 2016, when the apartment building, when Cirrus was looking to do their project and the conversations that it brought about, it let those of us who are newer and even more recent than myself understand the history. And by understanding the history and acknowledging the loss from those who have lost family members, we know moving forward we have to do better. And that is what I take from this, that we are still working with the EPA, we are still working on improving Nyanza, and then the hope is that other communities will not have to deal with what we dealt with because of this. So again, thank you all for being here. Thank you to Michael and his staff, and thank you for allowing me to say a few words. And I believe now we're going to hear from our Senate President and our Senator, Karen Spilka.
I think this is socially distanced enough here. So I just want to say that for me, first of all, thank you, Michael. Thank you to your staff and DPW workers and anybody that had anything to do with this, and Keith, because I think it's a terrific idea. Thanks to the Select Board, Yolanda, and all the others. And I do want to acknowledge the families, the Kane family, the Reddy family, the Lewis, and the many, many others that we know about or don't know about who lost loved ones to cancer, most likely caused by this site. I want to also acknowledge Dan Borelli for doing so much to raise attention, whether it be lights across Ashland or the Healing Garden, which is a peaceful spot to also memorialize the folks that lost their lives and to symbolize what Nyanza means to us as a town and as a people. And this, I want to thank the Citizens Advisory Group and Cara Terrell and all the others for help keeping this issue on the forefront. My husband and I moved to Ashland in 1985, soon after the Nyanza Superfund site was identified, really, and as acknowledged, it was one of the first. The program at the time was a new program, the Superfund site. We looked into it. My husband's in the environmental field, so we looked into it, and we felt safe moving to Ashland. We went to probably every single one of the meetings in the 80s, in the 90s, and long beyond. And then it did sort of fall off the radar of a lot of people, but not the people that were so directly affected, the families. You know, we all heard stories of kids going in puddles or swimming and coming out with colors, not understanding what all of this meant. So I think having this road, Memorial Drive, is a testament and a legacy to all of the victims of Nyanza, all of the families that have been impacted and negatively affected by Nyanza. But it also keeps it even more alive in our hearts and our minds, because as my son, who's a history teacher, says, if you don't know history, you're bound to repeat it. We need to make sure that the EPA continues its cleanup, continues to make this area safer and safer, not only for us, but our children, our children's children, and the generations to come afterwards. This is a wonderful town to live in. We need to acknowledge our history, learn from it, but go forward and use it in a positive way, and that's exactly what we are doing today. So thank you all. Be well, stay healthy and well to you and your families.
Thank you, Senate President. And then finally, I'm going to ask Dan Borelli to come up here to speak. Dan obviously has a lot of classmates, a lot of friends who are affected by Nyanza, and as the Senate President mentioned, Dan has really tried to bring awareness of this Superfund site through various creative ways. So I'll turn it over to Dan.
This is such a bizarre way to engage with people. Usually when we get together, we're much closer and we can, feel that each other's presence. So aside from that, I want to thank, I can't stand up here by myself. I appreciate that you said me individually, but it's really, I feel like a representative of this community. I started by asking a question to people that I know, like, how would you feel if we tried to acknowledge Nyanza publicly? And it wasn't, what do you think, but how do you feel? So it's not an intellectual thing, it's an emotional thing, it's a psychological thing. I really started by talking with Bernie and Marie Kane, and I talked to Andy and Lisa Kaufman and the Kettys. And there are many other people along the way that I spoke with first. And the first thing I did was kind of gain their permission to even begin to talk about this project again. There are many people that we grew up with. If you say Nyanza, I had many people say, I feel like you just punched me in the stomach. It takes the wind out of me. It hurts. It still hurts. And along the way, I started off in the past tense saying, well, what happened at Nyanza, only to begin to get a deeper understanding on the current EPA data that it's still happening, it's still present. And that shifted, and then my kind of key stakeholders challenged me and said, you gotta make sense of this and help us understand what's going on here. It's interesting because it sort of maps the sort of overall social development of not trusting formal sources of media. You watch how this unfolds in this country, and a lot of people are saying, I don't know what's true. And it was a great responsibility that they put in front of me. But the last part I wanted to get to, the first part was listening, and the second part was truth. How can we make something together that talks about the love that we have for each other? I wasn't intending to get choked up, but there's a lot of people to thank. We're in the process still of preparing the healing garden. We did have a plan for this summer that got tabled due to the pandemic. But in that moment when we came together, we worked as this incredible team, worked with Jamie Maloney and the Laborers Union, that entire team, many of whom are from Ashland, and a number of other Ashland residents came together, and we made something together, and we're still proud of it, very much so. And through the Laborers Union, a number of Ashland kids got to also participate in it through the programs that they have. It's a really special way. So it wasn't only what did we make, but also it was very powerful who made it. And it was really a testament to the fabric of this community. Simultaneously, we were converging into an activist group. So I do want to mention the Ashland Citizens Action Committee the Terrell sisters, both of them, Karen and Caitlin, and a number of other residents, really working in close kind of relationship with the current town leadership to just challenge and question how ethical was the developments that were being proposed. And we were trying to be a positive resistance. Lastly, what I'd like to conclude in saying, you know, these types of sites, these types of places, in a late capitalist society, they say you shouldn't talk about it because you're devaluing everything around you. And I really want to commend Michael, the entire board, Karen, and all the elected leaders of this place for having the courage to stand up with us and talk about it. That's the number one step towards healing. We feel that you recognize us. We feel that you understand us. And that allows us to come together and grow and heal and move forward. And that is always what we want, you know. So we really appreciate the amount of just the effort and the courage that you all brought to this. And I think it's incredible that once again the EPA is coming back out to Ashland. It's absolutely unheard of to, number one, get listed, number two, get them to show up, number three, a public health study that the Kane family helped administer with the Department of Public Health, but then to have the EPA come all the way back out again. It's incredible. And yet we have to sit in the discomfort of non-closure. We know that it's not done. And I think that discomfort is a new space that we all have to get used to inhabiting. There's a lot of work to do within the country. Environmental justice is one of them. But this place won't be closed. This will not be done. We have to continue to keep our eyes on it. So I'm honored to be here. I love saying I'm from Ashland. I love my people from Ashland. And that's always where I was coming from. And I'll just end with that. So thank you.